Hey all, I hope you guys are doing well. Hey, I want to make this quick video. Before I get started, if you don't already subscribe, please go ahead and subscribe. Don't forget to like this video and share it. Sharing is very important for my channel because it's a small channel. But I wanted to talk about the topic, and I really don't want people to misunderstand what I'm saying, and I'm hoping that people will listen carefully about what I'm going to say. This started on Facebook. One of my acquaintances, someone I met on Facebook because I did my DNA test, and I posted in this DNA group, and this person kind of like we connected and ended up having a Facebook friendship. So, but anyway, we don't know each other that well. So she posted something. Mind you, when you post something on Facebook and you don't choose your audience carefully, anyone who can see what you've posted will absolutely have an opinion. And I have a lot of opinions. I don't, like hide that fact that I have opinion pretty much about anything. So this person posted about the incidents that happened in Aretha Franklin's funeral after Ariana Grande performed, and the reverend who was the host there said something to an effect of, I talked to my 20-year-old daughter and asked her who Ariana Grande is because I thought it was a special at Taco Bell. That's how old I am. Basically, he was making an old people joke, trying to connect with this young person he maybe didn't know about her, and I'm sure he thought the joke, and he thought that the joke would go well. But let's put that aside. He then calls her, and I was watching the funeral. He calls her, sort of like, grabs her, and he says, come on stage, which is what a lot of black people do. Black people are huggers. Black people like to be close to you. That's just it. Even in our own culture in South Africa, people even kiss you in the mouth. That's just like closeness is something that we are, right? So you could tell that he knew that his joke kind of fell flat, and I think at that moment Ariana Grande kind of had like, whoa, why would you say that kind of thing, right? And I think in his way of trying to mitigate that situation, he calls her and he says, isn't she a diva, people, or something like that. And I'm paraphrasing here because I'm trying not to go back and look at the exact thing that he said, because I'm trying to show you my response at the time. And then so he says, come here, isn't she a diva? Please give her another round of applause. And he puts his arm around her. So fast forward to this event. So this lady puts this on Facebook, and she talks about sexual harassment, how these old men are sexually harassing women and people in positions of power. And I'm thinking to myself, what? Were we looking at the same thing? Because I honestly, at the moment, forget about when you go out and think about it again, like what this actually means. At the moment, I never took it more than, whoa, he said something cringeworthy with the, racist joke. But he also tried to mitigate the situation, but some people interpret that as sexual harassment. I thought that was absolutely, like, to me, an overreaction. And I totally understand as people who are sensitive to certain things because of our own experiences. But what I ask people don't do is to project their own experience in every situation, because you might end up drawing a completely wrong, conclusion. So, but anyway, to get back to this thing, so we start arguing back and forth with this girl. She starts bombarding my my messenger with messages about someone who was trying to sexual harass her and all of that, which again, I'm not condoning. I would never in a million years condone sexual harassment. because I know what it is and I know what it looks like. To me at the time, it honestly did not seem like it was. And even when I look back at it, I truly think that it was just an old man trying to connect with a young person in public, not in private. And it's not like he made a pass, you know, like on her and, you know, like hit a bomb or something like that. No, it wasn't something like that. It was literally just an old man trying to connect. And I totally get what, and Ariana Grande, mind you, is a star that has her own people, that has will probably never meet that reverend again in her life. And it was totally like a spontaneous moment, right? So, but fast forward to the point. So this girl starts talking about her own life and what she went through and stuff like that. And she said she really starts attacking me. And I'm thinking to myself, first of all, I understand that, you know, like you went through the things that you went through, because she said she was in the military and she was sexual harassed by men in positions of power and stuff like that. In this situation, she never thought at all. She just went on her own position and really projected it at this situation and then drew an insane, in my view, conclusion. And so, but anyway, just to close things out, I would say that anyone who's been through sexual harassment, in fact, before I close, let me tell you about my own experience. When I was 13 years old, I started dating, and in our neighborhood, or in our culture, we weren't allowed to date. So a neighbor of ours, a man, probably at the time in his late 20s, says to me, "I saw you kissing your boyfriend. I'm going to tell your mother. But if you don't want me to tell your mother, we can just, you know, like be friends and we can kiss and stuff like that." And I'm thinking to myself, I looked at him and I looked like where I was standing. I ran, literally I ran. Even at that early age, I understood that it was my responsibility first to make sure that I can defend myself, and I know what sexual harassment is and sexual abuse is, and I can defend myself. The second time I had an experience was when I was working my first job here in America. This man says to me, like we were selling cars, and that month I was doing so well. I guess maybe because I was doing so well, he thought that he could throw me off my game because I was doing so well by sexually harassing me. He literally, we were standing waiting for customers to come in, and he started touching my hand and rubbing my hand, not just touching my hand, but rubbing it. And so, you know what I did? I stopped and I looked at him. I said to him, "Do you know what sexual harassment is?" And then I said to him, "If you do that again, I will report you for sexual harassment." And he acted like, you know, he didn't mean it or whatever. The point I'm making, the point for me making this, telling you this story, is because a lot of times people understand the Me Too movement and the feminist movement as movements that put women in a position where they cannot defend themselves. I understand that there are many situations where a woman cannot defend herself, and I understand that culturally there are many things that we need to do in order to move men away from seeing women as nothing but sexual objects. I totally get that. But in any situation, whether it's robbery or whatever, any situation that puts you in a victim position, your first line of defense is yourself. And I think if we teach women that, to understand, when I was in high school, in fact, I was the member of an anti-AIDS organization, and we taught young kids, our peers, about HIV and the spread of STDs and stuff like that. One of the things that we taught was how to get yourself out of situations where you feel like something is about to happen that's out of your control. And so the point I'm trying to make is that teaching women, empowering women, because I'm totally about empowerment, teaching women to voice out their discomfort in a situation is a good thing, because when you do that, there is no misunderstanding. where people interpret things differently, because that man actually did come out and apologize, and that's a commendable thing that he did. But sometimes an apology is not an acceptance of responsibility, but a way to say, I did not intend it for it to be that way, but if it was taken that way and I was not aware that that's what I was doing, I totally apologize. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's not a weak apology. It's an apology that says, maybe I wasn't aware, maybe I was just doing something that I didn't think was harmful. And guess what? Things like that do happen. So we should not be in, you know, like take every situation and blow it out of proportion to a point where real issues are clouded. And remember, we live in a social media world and in a social media environment where everybody wants to make themselves, and so being outraged over something that is benign as what I saw, obviously the racist thing was kind of cringe-worthy, but again, I think he was trying to connect and he failed, and he apologized for that, and as he should. But in a world of social media, everybody wants to be a star, everybody wants to you know, like be something, and blowing things out of proportion, or reading something and literally just throwing your own experience on it and pretending that it's the same thing is something that I've seen a lot. And I tell people all the time, maybe it's because I was raised in a culture where really like that joke would have passed, you know, like when I was growing up, because we knew old people said weird things, not weird as in, you know, like bad things, but they were not in our, they didn't have our lingo, they didn't have our generation's sensibilities. And so we kind of understood that, and we kind of, you know, like understood that that's what they did. But what we never tolerated in our culture and everywhere is sexual abuse. We never tolerated that. Yes, there are cultural practices that, you know, still, but overall there's an understanding of, you know, like what is considered culture and what is considered sexual abuse. And so I'm talking here from a secular, you know, like cultural standard, that we never allowed sexual abuse, but we knew what it was, and we empowered women to be their first line of defense. It doesn't mean that women cannot organize and make sure that, you know, like things like this are stemmed from our society, but we are our first line of defense. What would be interesting is what Ariana Grande says, because it's actually absolutely wrong to demean women and to diminish women to a point where people get offended on their behalf. If she's offended, she has a right to, she's the one who went through the experience, and if she's offended, she has a right to voice that. But what I'm against is people taking a situation and projecting their own feelings to it and using their emotional instability to basically tell everybody that this is what is going, and they don't even allow other people to voice an opinion that's different. And you have a right to disagree with me. If you totally disagree with me, that's your right, and I understand that. But I was saying, really, from this situation, it didn't rise to that level, at least from my, you know, experience. Here's another thing: the same people who were so offended by that pastor will allow President Obama, who is obviously a very nice man, beautiful family, to kiss women on the cheek, okay? And he will go to every woman he sees, whether Republican or Democrat, and he will kiss the woman on the cheek, but he will not do the same to men. Do you know why? Because he understands the context of what he's doing and the society in which he lives in. Yes, in an ideal situation, he will treat everyone as an equal and treats everyone the same, regardless of gender. But we also understand that it's okay. That's the society we live in. There's nothing offensive about that. And if he kissed a man, you know, like on the cheek and said, hey man, you know, gave him a bro hug and kissed the man on the cheek, if he loves the man, could be his father, it could be anyone, we'd be okay with that. So to summarize this and not go on forever, I'll say thank you for watching, and I hope you understand the point that I was getting at, that the woman did not absolutely have to react the way that she did, to a point where she unfriended me and all of those things. And I'm thinking to myself, what is going on? We should always be aware of the context. We should also think in the context of how things happened. You know, if we put things into context, which by the way even computers nowadays understand what that is, then we can understand things, that things are not always what they seem across the board. Some situations it's okay to do something, and some situations it's not okay to do something. In this case, the man was public, he was doing it in front of the whole world watching. I don't think his intentions were bad. I don't know the man, I don't know his heart. I only saw what I saw, and I will leave it at that. And I would love to hear what you think, because this is a very sensitive topic. As someone who was raised by a feminist, I totally get, you know, like I totally get the need for women to be strong. And for me, the need for women to be strong starts with women understanding what to do in situations where they feel like they are being sexually harassed, so that we don't always assume that a woman is being a victim every time a man does something. Let me know. And also, as a mother and a wife, I'm not condoning anything. And I'm not saying that anything was okay. If Ariana was offended, that's her right, that's her prerogative. But I would say that if a woman feels uncomfortable, please speak up immediately. Let your perpetrator know exactly how you feel. And if you are unable to do that, you can take it up with authorities afterwards, whether it's at work or it's in real life. You can take it up, because there's a law against that. If you feel like that was sexual harassment, or if you're unsure if it was sexual harassment, you can go and ask someone, and then you can take it up with the necessary authorities. But I hope everything that I said, you gave it a thought, and if you agree, please go ahead and let me know. If you disagree, let me know, but still like the video. Okay, thank you, bye.